Hey everybody, welcome to Comic Book Curation. I am Polydub, and joining me, as always, Inquisitor 8.1. Quiz, how the hell are you?
I'm okay. How's everyone else this evening?
You realize that's the first time that anyone has asked me how I'm doing? Jack, how are you?
Don't let it go to your head.
I'm good. How you doing?
Well, I'm not feeling too well, but well enough to stream, damn it.
Yes.
Yes. And, oh, Chaos is here, and Jacob Jett is here.
Hi.
Well, Chaos is us, and Jacob's kind of a shit poster, so I'm a little worried.
I like Jacob for that reason.
It's a good thing that I like shit posters. So, guys, hell of a week for Comicsgate, huh?
Yeah.
Clean your stuff up. Where do you want to start with this mess?
I know. Like it. Do you want to like not start with the Comicsgate fun and start with the thumbnail story? What do you think?
It's up to you.
Okay. Why don't we let chat decide? Do you want to start by talking about the Betsy Braddock story or the bizarre fuckery overly dramatic story?
Well, according to chat, Polly can kiss their ass, according to Jacob. So
I'm not taking Jacob's word that that's how chat feels.
Well, it's specifically him, but you know, he's vocal and I like him, so
I mean, we can. I mean, there she is, Betsy Braddock herself, in this week's thumbnail. And just for the record, Inquisitor didn't like this thumbnail. See, he doesn't like ladies, and he's particularly spiteful towards this character. But we've kind of decided to try and look past that. Well,
I think it's because she's Asian.
I know. Well, and that's part of the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. We've started down this road. Let us talk about Betsy Braddock. Okay. Betsy Braddock is a character inside of the Marvel Universe. She's technically a mutant, right? Her psychic powers are genetically based now.
I think so.
Yeah, anyway, she's British. She's a white lady. Anglo-Saxon white lady. And she's a sister of, she's the original Captain Britain, sister of Brian Braddock, who then ended up becoming Captain Britain. And then at a certain point, she became Asian. Because Quiz, help me out here. I'm blanking on how she became Asian. She got in a fight with a Japanese ninja princess and somehow ended up switching bodies with her, or somebody forced them to switch bodies. What happened again?
It was a whole thing. Let's see here. She was, oh God, where to begin with it? Okay. She went undercover to fight like this ninja ring called the Hand. It was actually in China. And
the white lady, the white British lady, went undercover in China to fight Japanese ninjas. Got it.
Yeah.
Obviously. Duh.
There's this like master psychic, like does something crazy with her mind, and her mind possesses the body of a Japanese ninja. And so then having half of Betsy Braddock's psychic potential that she had before in a body that had better physical and mental conditioning.
Yeah, it did.
She had inhabited this other person named Quanan's body, and she became the Hand's prime assassin. Also taking the name Lady Mandarin.
Right.
Yeah, it's where she gets her psychic knife thing, and loses the butterfly pattern around her face whenever she uses her psychic abilities.
Yeah, she lost that because it was stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was like pink dress wearing purple haired, butterfly faced lady.
She looked like an old lady.
Yeah. And then so along comes a guy named Jim Lee, who's a stellar fucking artist. And he redesigns a number of the characters in some really cool ways, like gives them a new character design. I personally am the biggest fan of the redesign he made for Rogue, but that's just me. And then he redesigned Betsy Braddock is like in her Asian garb now that she had occupied this body. She was now a Japanese lady. In like this little sexy bathing suit onesie that you guys just saw the picture of.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that picture. Let's re-reference that picture, shall we?
Yeah, obviously. I mean, we are talking about this person. So.
Yes. Yes, there's Psylocke in her. Naturally, when you want to go fight crime and superpowered mutants, you want to be dressed in a little bathing suit onesie kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would have liked it better if she used a bow staff, so it looked like she was twirling on a pole.
Jesus. Yeah. Nice. And as Jack pointed out before we launched the stream, she probably speaks with a British accent. So you've got like this Japanese ninja lady, super sexy, fit as fuck, and speaks with a British accent. Hot. Very hot.
Like a sexy British accent, not like, oi, blimey! You know?
She's not up the North Coast, huh?
Yeah, she's not up in a Great Bear country.
Now, what made me think about this is that, you know, you got the NPC SJW types out there in the world, right? And there's lots of them. They're all over Twitter, and they go looking for problems wherever they can find them. And most recently, as Quiz will explain, she went back to being the old Betsy Braddock again. Now, how did that happen, Quiz?
Okay, it was part of a thing called Resurrection, and the it's spelled RESURRXION. She basically had an encounter with this psychic vampire called Sapphire Styx, who absorbed her soul. And then Psylocke fights the psychic husks of all of her victims, and then including a fragment of Wolverine's soul. And she uses her telepathy to kill her from within. Yeah, her body was pretty much destroyed, but she uses soul energy left behind to recreate her original body.
Nice.
And it also says that Quanon had returned to her original body as well. So Psylocke still exists as we know her from the 90s, but she isn't Psylocke.
So it's sort of a replacement theory character because they've taken this character that people have loved for several decades, and they're like, no, only Asians can do Asian-y stuff. So you can't be a ninja. And you were white once, so obviously this is somehow racist.
Of course.
Now, what is... Jesus. What occurred to me is that I'm surprised that the Twitter mobs and the problematic people that are constantly looking for things that are problematic didn't have all kinds of issues with this. And they kind of do if you go looking for it. You can find some people complaining about it, but it never became a big thing. Like, and here's my theory. CNN didn't write a story on it. The New York Times didn't write a story on it. MSNBC didn't cover it on their garbage tier site. And therefore,
it doesn't exist to a lot of mainstream social justice warriors. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, like they're getting their anger off of Twitter and social media, Facebook, wherever. You know, this is where they're finding things to be upset about. If their buddies aren't retweeting problematic stories, like how do you think they all knew that Iceman was gay? How do you think that they all knew that there was a trans wedding going on in Batgirl's series? It's because some idiot wrote a story about it, some quote unquote journalist, because it's not like these people are reading comics. You know, yeah. I mean, come on, they're not. So it's
the first of some kind. They're not reading comics.
Yeah. But if you go, but you know, the people that somebody did get word of it. So like I'm reading this story over at splinternews.com.
Oh, lovely. Splinter.
Yes. And
it's annoying and painful, like a splinter.
Yeah, nice. Did it hurt when you jumped in that dumpster to get that article? Jeez.
Yeah, this is what it reference. Well, hold on. Tumblr comes up in this story.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah, Charles Pulliam Moore, if you've ever heard of him, he does a lot of garbage tier writing himself. Title of this article is A Brief History of Psylocke's Complicated and Racially Problematic Origin Story. Because
do it.
Yeah. When Elizabeth Betsy Braddock was first introduced in Captain Britain #8, she was many things: an accomplished charter pilot, twin sister to Captain Britain, and a fledgling telepath. In time, she would give up flying planes in favor of modeling and follow into her brother's crime-fighting footsteps. Well, actually, he wasn't crime-fighting. He was defending the realm, mostly from extra-dimensional threats, but whatever.
All right there, Captain Britain.
Well, it's true. So my fault, I know the fucking lore.
I know, but, that's the thing is that, for those not in the know, Captain Britain was never released here in the States.
Yeah, what was Marvel's UK imprint called?
I don't remember.
Marvel UK, wasn't it?
Jesus Christ, was it? Okay. Through a freak series of events, Betty's consciousness was forcibly put into the body of Quanon, a Japanese mutant ninja, and Quanon's was transferred into Betsy's. While inhabiting Betsy's body, would soon contract the legacy virus, Marvel's version of HIV that only affected mutants, and not long after.
No, it's an alien techno-organic virus called the Phalanx.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, which is a lot like AIDS, which was created by the CIA to kill black people.
And distributed throughout Africa by the World Health Organization. Are we going to spread any more conspiracy theories here?
Oh, well, you want to talk about 9/11?
No, I really don't. But moving along with this article.
I'm tired of putting chemicals in the water trying to make frogs gay.
Though nothing is ever set in stone in the world of comic book storytelling, Betsy Braddock, a white British character, has been living in a Japanese woman's scantily clad body, being a telepath for the last 20 years. To say that Psylocke's presence across Marvel's various comic book titles has been highlighted with overtones of racial and cultural appropriation is a bit of an understatement. It's really not
appropriation. Give me a goddamn break.
Yeah, nobody cared before like
Japanese that comes up in the comics at all.
Yeah, nobody cared before like 2 years ago.
Nobody cared. That's the whole point. Mustafa asked, like, what's up with Psylocke now? Nothing that wasn't created by the people who go looking for problems is the answer, Mustafa. Like, it's nobody cared. It's Jim Lee comes along. Jim Lee's Korean. He wants an Asian character. He redesigns the character. He's working very closely with the writer, Chris Claremont. They came up with the storyline that we just suggested. And somehow that's culturally and racially problematic in their mind.
Well, to be fair, the Koreans and Japanese do have a history of not liking each other.
They do, but it was like the Hand is a well-established group, and I guess he could have gotten together with Claremont and written this entire. Jesus, I'm out of it tonight. It could have written in a whole South Korean storyline, I guess, but instead they just went with a well-established, already extant villainous group, the Hand.
So a Korean guy writes a story about a Japanese group fighting in China with a white woman from Britain. How is this not complained about long before? Because these people didn't exist 10 years ago. They were just a little weird and crazy.
And man, if you're into diversity, there's some fucking diversity.
Yeah.
Remember, man, all of this is easily explained by the fact that Jim Lee is Asian.
Yeah, he wanted an Asian character. I've read interviews with him where he says it. Like, yeah, okay, I can understand that. So,
but he's the wrong kind of Asian.
Well, nonetheless, Psylocke, a kind of like underused character, as often happens, they reinvigorate an old character or change around an old character or whatever. There you go. It's still pretty much anyway. To say that, where was I? The character's origin and personality firmly establish her being an upper-class English woman, but various depictions of her have been shot through with explicit fetishization of Asian women. Okay. Doesn't it just suck when men are attracted to something? Isn't it just evil?
Yeah, it's not my fault that British chicks have bad teeth and Asians are sexy.
Okay. Male artists drawing female superheroes wearing impractical, sexually suggestive costumes are sadly still much a part of the comics industry. But Psylocke's most iconic designs stand out with a particular given story around her race and the heavy emphasis of her being a, quote, psychic ninja. Depending on who's writing the character, Psylocke has varying degrees of residual memories from her body's original owner. These memories are typically cited as the reasoning behind the character's use of psychic katanas. Okay, but narratively,
I don't remember her ever using psychic katanas. I remember her having the psychic knife.
Yeah, but
they've done that with the katanas.
They have, yeah, where she wields double psychic katanas at points. They sometimes came across as a weak excuse to ignore the fact that Psylocke's character is built around an odd kind of yellow face.
Oh God!
So here we go. They talk about X-Men Apocalypse.
You're Asian, you're white.
Yeah, I'm just going to dance through some of this stuff. X-Men Apocalypse, they talk about Olivia Munn playing her, and she's of mixed Asian and European ancestry.
Oh, she's not yellow enough, huh?
Yeah. Back in the comics, Psylocke's slated to be a featured member of the upcoming Uncanny X-Men, written by Cullen Brunn. A fan of Psylocke recently reached out to Bunn via Tumblr, asking him if he planned to... Get this. On Tumblr, somebody asked the writer of this comic if he planned to address the issues surrounding the character's problematic race. This happened on Tumblr?
No!
Get out. Here's the question.
I don't believe that for a second.
The question asked was, quote, I was wondering, do you ever plan to address her problematics with racial identity or lack thereof, or put her back in her original body, like some writers at Marvel have said they wanted to do? Wrote Tumblr user Tazarai, quote, even if you don't, I know she'll at least be written beyond the ninja trope, hopefully. Bunn
What's wrong with ninjas?
Yeah. Bunn was frank in response, expressing that he was definitely interested in making Psylocke more than, quote, just a ninja, but was torn what to do about her racial identity. My X-Men notebook has pages dedicated to this idea, he began. However, I also want the book to be accessible to new readers, so I don't think it's a good idea to hit too heavily on early issues, you know? When the time is right, I'll tackle it. Bunn's right that introduced a plot line solid enough to make sense. Psylocke's race would be quite a creative endeavor, but it's not as though Marvel hasn't done daring things in the past. Jean Grey is coming back enough from the dead, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it just...
a breakout thing at this point.
Yeah, well, get this. In her essay, quote, is the world ready for a Hapa Psylocke? Jennifer de Guzman, a comics writer of Asian American ancestry, argues that while Psylocke isn't necessarily an entirely problematic character. Well, that's very generous of you, Jennifer, to decide that she's not entirely problematic. Though Psylocke isn't a mixed race person, de Guzman is clear to point out that there is a way in which the character could be seen as a symbol of complexity, having multiple ethnic backgrounds. I
like being a British woman inside of a Japanese woman's body who is being a ninja in China.
Well, yeah. Okay, look, I guess the question for me kind of comes down to like this is, if we're okay, like with a character like Betsy Braddock, that's sort of like a C or D list character at best, being reinvented as a sexy Asian ninja, and really being the same only in name, how can we possibly have a problem with gay Iceman?
Because one was story relevant, the other one was just like, hey, you're gay now.
Okay. I mean, I have my own thoughts on this. I was just curious as to what you guys thought.
I mean, yeah, that is a good point, Jack. I mean, the story hinging around, Betsy going to China and being, getting into the situation that she is, and it becoming this sort of, massive thing that, alters her life, not irrevocably, as we've found out, but, in some sort of major way. is entirely different than a contrived plot device that serves only to virtue signal to show how great and progressive the writer and artist are.
Yeah, and they did explore like her situation a lot more over the years. You know, they addressed how she feels in another body, that sort of thing. So it has gone in depth on it. They had storylines where she'd get mind controlled and try and kill everybody. So they've at least explored that as opposed to just like, you're gay, be a 1990s gay man.
You know what? That's why I wanted to see what you guys thought before I said anything. Like, it is that not the critical difference right there? Is that Bobby Drake was instantly gay, like immediately, and I mean insta gay, because he went from being like a womanizer guy, had lots of different girlfriends over the decades that he was written. This is how his character worked, right? To suddenly being, well, like you said, a 90s gay stereotype, like Diversity in Comics describes. Like, I mean, he's awful. The boyfriend kissage scene. Do I need to remind you guys of that?
That's stupid.
It was, I told Zelthor about that on Discord. I had to pull up the page. He didn't believe me that it was a real thing. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's an opening page of, what is it? The first scene of Grace Iceman series. Now it's into the second one, where the opening page, Iceman's doing these heroic things. He's already like captured the criminals, right? And he's just sort of talking out loud, and the word bubbles say, criminals captured, check. Police on their way to haul them away, check. Boyfriend kissage, guaranteed.
Like, it's just lazy writing.
Yeah, like his boyfriend's gonna come kiss him for being the hero.
What that is?
What's that?
It's cringy writing, is what that is. Who the fuck talks like that?
Yeah,
nobody talks like that.
Gay men, straight men, gay women, straight women. Nobody talks like that in any kind of conceivable universe, except in the imagination of Cena Grace, the writer of Iceman.
Is that this is far from the only time where that sort of dialogue can be shown as being a thing in Marvel Comics. It's become a mainstay in a lot of their books. People in their books talk that way.
Yeah, they talk
that way.
Special needs Valley girls, like, yes. Oh my god,
it's annoying, is what it is.
Yeah, because nobody talks like that.
Yeah, okay. You go back and you read old Spider-Man, right? Like 1960s, 70s Spider-Man. It's campy because it kind of like, you know, Spider-Man's going to the sock hop at high school. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's referencing going, you know, oh no, Electro's robbing the disco. Like, it sort of like the things of the time. So it's kind of got this hilarious campiness. You read Iceman today, and it sounds like when people like looking at watching a 90s serialized or syndicated rather sitcom, where gay characters are talking with heavy duty lisps because writers don't know how to use them or deal with them, but they just want a gay character. So let's have this guy just flamboyant as fuck, wearing bright colors. And yeah, that means gay, right? You know?
Yeah, I actually had one of my gay friends who's not a comic book reader read an issue of Iceman, and he's like, did the writer hate gay people? He's like, this is the most homophobic thing I've ever read. I was like, no, that dude's gay. And he's like, he hates himself then. And I was like, yeah, that sounds right.
So, I mean, but you can't carry on. Now, this was my thought on it. So you got Betsy Braddock turns into a Japanese woman. So if they were really fetishizing the Japanese thing, what would it would have been her eating bento boxes, talking about how kawaii Wolverine was. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, it would have been.
Her costume would be a Hello Kitty onesie, and she'd be like, "Konnichiwa!" Have her hands up, shaking her little fists.
Do you see what I mean? Like, none of those, and this is what happens when you have Chris Claremont, an incredibly competent writer, doing the writing. Like, it becomes an issue of conflict for her. She's in a different body. This whole thing, okay.
If she touches herself, is that like actual sex? Because she's not masturbating; it's not her body.
And you know what? The issue that what's his name wrote
just here. Just gonna ignore that, huh?
Yes.
Oh.
that Charles Pulliam Moore wrote here. He's like, the
masturbates, or is she raping?
We need to start paying attention more stream etiquette here, gentlemen. I went back and listened to one of our episodes, and we cut each other off so much. Let's just. You guys are terrible at this.
I don't know what you're talking about, Polly.
Now, what were you saying? My point is, I can hear me clipping you off when you're trying to talk. So please, what were you going to say?
Fucking around, Paul. I need to state to you 12 times that I've got to go.
What?
I was bringing up the Coach Red Pill thing. I need to state to you 12 or 13 times that I've got to go.
Why would you bring up Coach Red Pill here? My channel is a respite from that garbage. Okay? This is my hug box. Okay. We talk about comics here. We don't deal with 50-year-old hangers-on repeating fucking shitlord's words like he's cool.
Wait, we're going to be talking about Mark Waid in a minute. Are you sure that's a rule now?
He's got a point.
God damn it, Jack. Mark Waid's like 55. He's not 50.
Whatever. He acts like he's 5.
Well, what a coincidence. So does his attorney.
Yeah.
You know what I've been watching the viewer count because it's on here, and it's like we'll go up to like 14 viewers and then back down to 9. I get this fear that people like, hey, let's go see what this Poly guy's channel is. What's going on there? And comic book curation, okay. And they listen to us ramble for like 20 seconds, and they're like, fuck this, and just leave.
Well, I'll take the blame for that because it's probably me, but I would say that they're missing out. It's not our fault they're not awesome.
You know what? Okay.
We're hilarious, God damn it.
Right.
Well, yeah, whatever. You know what's funny is that on Umbrella Guy's channel today, at the end, like I asked him, like, is it okay if I pitch my shit in your stream, like in chat? I mean, and he shut down this, like that was right at the end, and he shut down sort of without notice today. Like it just, I guess he hit the stop button.
He had to poop or something.
Yeah, like he was just gone instantly. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to say like, oh, hey, I'm streaming tonight on my channel. If you guys want to come by, come by. And I don't have a wrench over there. So I was just like, they'd have to click on my thing. So it'd be totally of their own volition. And 3 people subbed right there. They wrote subbed. And I was like, cool. Now, you got Umbrella Guy. He's a gentleman. He's got an adorable daughter that comes on and tells stories. You know,
they're funny.
Yeah, they really are funny, man. His daughter's awesome. So you got Tug, and you got this, great organized stream with this adorable daughter and this friendly chat. And you come over here and you got 3 foul-mouthed cocksuckers just talking bullshit. It's like, yeah. In any case,
I don't know how you're not selling this because it sounds like a good roaring time. 3 wacky individuals who love to mock people and read comics. Sounds awesome.
Okay. Shady brings up a point there. He says, you saucy motherfucker, why are you starting during Lords of the Night? I've addressed this point before, but Shady, I'll address it again in case anybody hasn't known, right? We're stepping on anybody at any point of the day. There's nothing we could do. I'm only happy that Edwin Boyette's stream ended before we started because we're always stepping on somebody. And I don't know what the laws of probability are that we're violating in the universe, that every time we start streaming, it seems that Ethan Van Sciver starts to stream shortly thereafter and sucks.
Man, stealing our audience.
No, that's just more gatekeeping, damn it.
Yeah.
So, in any case, I hear you, Shady. We actually talked about it for a while. What's the best time to do it? And we picked new comic book day, which is Wednesday today. And unfortunately, that ended up being like one of Monkey's nights, which like tend to draw a really good viewership for Lords of the Night. And we're like, okay, well, what time are we going to do it at? And we had to do like, we're all in different time zones and blah. And we ended up just picking 10 p.m. Eastern, which we never start at anyway. Yeah, well, it was a
some of us are ready at 10.
I have never not accepted the responsibility for the us being late. Oh, 6 is in chat.
No, but it's funny.
Oh, and Hate Camel's here too. Shit, everyone's here.
Whole game.
So we should probably actually have like a stream instead of just talking about the stream.
Whatever.
Okay, so get this. Hold on, I will actually share this shit. Give me a second here, and I will put my now Monkey and I, and then Later Scribe and I had a debate over Batman v Superman, right?
Uh-huh.
And my argument at the time was simply that Batman v Superman was not a good movie. It was simply a better movie than Dark Knight Rises was. And I still believe that. Now, one of Monkey's mainstay points, and later Scribes, but much more emphatically Monkey's, was the whole Martha, why'd you say that name? I think they made too much of a big deal out of it, right? So here we have, give me a second, I'm presenting myself. Garbage tier screen rant. Like, holy shit, is screen rant shilling for anybody that needs shilling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Batman v Superman. Zack Snyder explains a possible Martha-based plot hole. Who was it that? God damn it, I can't remember. Somebody tweeted this at me today. God, well, whoever it was, thank you very much. Because I hadn't seen it before, and I thought, oh, maybe he's going to address the whole Martha thing and back up my interpretation of what was going on in that scene. And like, when you look at the actual quote, and this is all that it is, right here, this little motherfucker right there. He talks about a scene that he wanted to be there and that he sees as being there. And this is important. This explains why he just didn't save his own mother, like Superman in the scene. And it's like, it's a green screen shot. He flies up above the city and hovers. The camera begins to rotate around him as he hears the cries of citywide crime going on. And as we get closer, he is in pain because he knows that if he tries to find her this way, like meaning just flying around at super speed and finding her, he will have to ignore the countless crimes going on in the two cities and the world.
That's stupid.
Okay. I call shenanigans. That is a total clickbait title. And they baited me into clicking because I clicked on it. I thought, oh, this will be interesting. And it's no, this is fuckery. This is the plot hole of why he just didn't save his own mother. Well,
that was explained in the movie.
Yeah. Lex himself explains that. This is not and that's why they wrote possible Martha-based plot hole. I mean, this writer, Anna Dumarog. Yeah, you were just really looking for something to fucking write about and found this tiny quote and decided to build up a clickbait article around it.
Now, can we focus on that name Dumarog for a minute? Because that looks like somebody combined a mentally deficient person with a Balrog. And this is what you get. And this is the type of product I would expect from such a monster.
What?
This woman is a monster. She's a chimera of evil.
What the hell's a Balrog?
Balrog.
What is that?
The big fiery guy from Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
You shall not pass.
Oh.
The demon.
Yeah, I saw those movies once, and that was good enough.
You were a terrible nerd.
I know.
I don't even particularly like those movies all that much, and I've seen them like 8 times. Because people are like, let's watch this. And it's like, oh yeah, a movie about walking. Awesome.
Okay. Okay.
It's an incredible journey with rings.
No, hold on. Chat. Lord of the Rings. Okay, we've got a bunch of nerds. Otherwise, you wouldn't be nerds. Well, or you're just really sympathetic and showed up to give us some mercy views. In which case, thank you. And if you're here, you can subscribe. Proud. Yeah, we're not too proud to take mercy likes.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to my channel. I can't pull up the chat right now, or I'd be shilling.
And BG just said this. You just lost your geek cred. I don't believe that. Chat. Press 1 if seeing Lords of the Rings once was enough for you. 2 if you need to see it multiple times. I'm curious.
Well, you've only seen one version. How would you know? There's the theatrical. There's the extended cut. The super duper extended cut.
Yeah, I've got the one with like you
can't 3 hours. Quiz, you fuck.
Oh, I can vote.
You didn't say we could vote.
I thought it was obvious.
Well, I just think that you're wrong. I think those movies are great.
Yeah, they're entertaining.
If Zelthor was here, he would be calling you all sorts of names.
You guys are losing out, man. I'm sorry to say.
No, because it's a story of unrequited love on a long journey of walking. And you have to see every edition so I don't have to suffer alone.
See, John Pierre brings up the Hobbit trilogy. I've not seen any of the Hobbit movies.
They're not bad.
Okay. You want to talk about a lack of nerd cred? Like I can't even believe I let it go on this long.
Huh.
Quiz hasn't seen anything past the Phantom Menace. Nothing.
Oh no, I've seen the original trilogy.
Past. I said past the Phantom Menace.
Those came out first, and then
okay,
the prequels.
You mean
Since
chronologically?
Yes.
Chronologically, yes, because
chronologically
Phantom Menace
in
was
our
such
universe, but yeah.
terrible movie that I've written off Star Wars in its entirety.
So just remember, from now on, if Quiz offers an opinion on The Last Jedi or what Disney's doing with Star Wars, he ain't seen none of them.
Johnny Hellcat, I'm not missing much.
No, but it's the principle of, being up to speed on why you're angry.
I'm not necessarily angry. I'm just saying that
you'll be angry after you watch Last Jedi.
I've got to ask. You just said fuck Star Wars and Star Trek. You don't seem to like comics either. What the fuck are you doing here?
She likes comics.
Oh, well, like what?
I can't see the chat.
He wouldn't remember, dude. He bought Batman Shadow at your suggestion.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He just doesn't like Star Wars and Star Trek.
Cred reestablished. That was an.
What about Battlestar Galactica or Buck Rogers?
Jar Jar Binks killed Star Wars for me. Yeah, well, think how you're going to feel.
Thank you, Hate. Thank you.
Well, think how you're going to feel when Dark Jar Jar shows up in episode 9, the chapter 11.
Is it confirmed? Like 100% confirmed that Jar Jar is going to be in it?
Well, nothing's 100% confirmed, but yeah.
Yeah, they're
Jar Jar, the Sith Dark Lord, yeah.
Will they call it episode 9? Gunga Din.
Jesus.
Gungan.
So Shady's like, I like comics, I just can't afford them. Fair enough. At $4 a pop, 5 for a lot of them, I can understand that, man. They're asking a lot of money for a hell of a lot of filler material, man. Like, and bad stories at that. It's tough to blame you. That's what I'm saying. Stick to collected editions. There's
a lot of garbage out there.
We did promise to, we sort of promised to talk about what's going on with Comicsgate, because shit, I think we're gonna have to do more than one stream this week to talk about all this stuff. I mean, we're already running 36 minutes, and I'm not feeling too well. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to go through a super TLDR version of what happened. One of the guys who's cited as being the quote leader of Comicsgate, Richard Meyer, or Diversity in Comics, complained for a long time, critiqued a lot of comics for a long time, and always said he was writing his own original material. You know, when you support this channel, you're supporting original material, he would say at the end. Turns out that he wasn't lying. He did start his own Indiegogo for Jawbreakers was the series, or the comic that he wanted to turn into a series. It was funded very, very well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And on the last night of it, announced that he was not going to self-publish, but was going to go through a small press in Texas called Antarctic Press. Antarctic Press tweeted out they were very happy about the partnership, that they had struck a deal, and they were very excited about it. And there we go. A longtime comic book writer, very well-known man in the industry by the name of Mark Waid, who is a virtue signaler supreme, hardcore SJW type on Twitter, who does not like Diversity in Comics very much at all, is very antagonistic towards Richard C. Meyer as much as Meyer is antagonistic towards him, decided to call up Antarctic Press and basically gangster them out of the deal, in my opinion. You know, hey, it's a really nice press you have here. It'd be too bad if the internet rained holy hellfire for you down on your little press for associating with an alt-right white nationalist, that kind of thing, you know. Is that basically the story, guys? Does that sum it up pretty well?
Pretty much.
Sure.
Meyer several months later. What's that?
So you forgot to bring up the fact that later Meyer sued him for tortious interference, which is exactly what that describes.
Well, yeah, I was just about to say. And so months later, Meyer sues him for not only slander, for saying he's associated with white nationalist groups, which is like, you know, a statement of fact that's, you know, provably wrong. Also, that he interfered with the contract. He's a third party from outside of the AB contract that was established between Meyer and this press. So Waid got his ass sued for this, and kind of justifiably. Now it's up to sort of to run its way through federal court to see if it's a technical violation of the law and if Meyer's suit is successful. Whether it technically violates the law, well, that's up to the jurists and the lawyers and the judge, right? You should hear Waid talk, and you should hear Waid supporters talk. This baseless lawsuit, this blah, blah, blah. And Waid makes it sound like the entire lawsuit is based upon him being out for diversity and out for inclusion and defending women and POCs and LGBTQ creators and so on, as if that's what he's being sued over. So he goes on The Nerdist this week, and Jack is actually the one who... Jack, why don't you tell us what happened on The Nerdist?
Oh, I thought you'd take longer. I'm eating Doritos.
Well, there's Jack's nerd cred.
You say teal deer, and well, that could be a little bit. No, so Waid goes on The Nerdist, and I'm like, oh, okay. Softball interview, kind of expect it. And they talk for quite a while about various projects and things like that. And the little weenie host guy who doesn't have any nerd cred. I'm sorry. These guys are a bunch of fake geeks over at The Nerdist. They're like hipster geeks. So he's given all these softballs, talks about Kingdom Come and some of the more famous stuff Waid did. Nothing obscure, nothing challenging. They finally get to the lawsuit near the end. And it's more of the same. It's a couple of softball questions. Clearly, the Nerdist guy doesn't like Comicsgate. And they called them a hate group again. I think he used the term white supremacist, didn't he?
No, he didn't. But the way he introduces it was brilliant. The little beta host. He's like, well, I guess we have to talk about this, Mr. Waid. He's just such a little goof, the host, man. It's clearly some guy that they hired to be able to be a mouthpiece for whatever they wrote for him to say. And he goes, you have become the target of a lawsuit by a supporter of an online harassment group called Comicsgate. And Mark Waid's like, absolutely, that's correct. Like, they're just in this mutual agreement fest between each other the entire
Oh, man, they did everything except start making out on the couch. It was pathetic. And, oh my god, the guy, the host, I'm sorry, he looked like such a little weenie. Like, I wanted to rub his face in the sand at the beach. And
give me your lunch money.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny because the guy that interviews him, I'm looking it up right now. He used to be the TV correspondent, so to speak, I guess, for DC's YouTube channel. For their press release. So he would be the one that would be sitting there talking about Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and all this other kind of stuff. And yes,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
He was just as low energy in that as well. And there's a reason why he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's terrible. And he looks so disinterested with like that fake fawning when you know you're supposed to care about something. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's great. Yay. You're a big boy now. And the whole time you're like, can I leave? Can I leave? This is dumb. That's what he looked like. There was no passion on either side. It was just this puff piece for Mark Waid to look good and plug his GoFundMe, because that's what he did for like the last minute of the show. They just chilled.
Now, here's the key. That guy, Waid, could teach lessons on how to lie by omission. And yeah. I said this out on Twitter, and I've talked about it like on Discord with different people, but like he said the crux of the lawsuit is around me slandering this guy. Now, I don't know how you could slander a guy like Richard Meyer that goes, they don't even mention his name. Like, they keep it real quiet. They're like, I don't know how you could slander somebody who says these awful things about POCs and LGBTQ people. And if they're now I'm a straight white guy. Now, if I get this kind of hate, imagine what people of color are dealing with.
Oh, he used every buzzword in the book, too.
As if it's incremental like that in some kind of way. And does that not go against the whole narrative that Comicsgate, all of us, we're all a bunch of like white guys and we just hate everybody that isn't white? Why would we be hating on you then, Waid, if you're a straight white guy?
Because he's the sheriff of comics. He's the protector of the weak. And that's how he feels about minorities. That's at least how it seems.
Well, didn't he say that? Didn't he say that the strong have a duty to protect the weak?
Yeah.
Yes.
He even put it in a Captain America comic.
How's that make you feel, Michelle Perez?
Yeah,
You're weak.
well,
Clearly.
and as a trans person as well. Yeah, like a trans person of color. There you go.
Well, and what got me is I think he believes that this is about him saying mean things.
Yeah.
I don't think he fully understands this is about him interfering.
Yeah.
He thinks it's about the fact that he told somebody the truth as he sees it. So
But no,
I really think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of why he's being sued.
Do you think so? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think he's lost the plot that bad. I think that this is all part of a PR stunt on his part, because he deliberately doesn't mention the major part of the lawsuit, the thing that everybody's talking about, this torsion interference. His own lawyer sends a response to that lawsuit that other people have been talking about.
Yeah.
I'll cover it in more detail at a later point. And Nick Rakita has covered it brilliantly because he's an actual lawyer. And there's another thing, guys. Leave it to attorneys, leave it to lawyers that people can actually talk about this stuff, and leave it to Nick Rakita to point out Mark Waid's lawyer is actually named Mark Zaid, for those of you who didn't know. That's just still funny to me. Jamal Igle is a guy on Twitter, Comics Pro, that, you mean, this guy dispenses legal advice as if he's an actual attorney. It blows my mind how suddenly Renfamous and Jamal Igle have all of these wonderful legal opinions. If you guys are such legal experts, why aren't you practicing? Well, all right, you shouldn't practice law because you're full of shit. You're just taking fucking guesses at what's. Renfamous keeps calling the case meritless and baseless and other terms of that sort. And it's like, really, you think so? Because it sounds to me like Richard Meyer has at least a basic level case. Like, keeping in mind that the first response that came to the case was not to dismiss it for lack of grounds. It was to dismiss it based on jurisdiction. That because Waid doesn't live in Texas and didn't, the Texas should have no jurisdiction over him in this way.
Well, they can't really succeed on a meritless claim because they have so much documentation and him bragging online and in interviews about what he did. It won't hold up. But by trying to go for location, that's a Hail Mary pass. They can hope that the judge is like, all right, whatever.
Like, I could see it ultimately not going Meyer's way quite easily. It's like, no, ultimately you did not prove that he interfered with this contract well enough, even though Waid said these things after fact. Or I could see it very much going for Meyer, that it's like, yes, you did prove your case.
Well,
that's called
Meyer
a reason.
Also,
that's sorry. What quiz?
Well, didn't Meyer also file for it to be going to a jury rather than a judge summary judgment?
Yeah,
he wants it to go all the way. Yeah, because he wants to be able to go through the discovery part. Is the guess on Nick Rakita's part?
Well, it's pretty normal to go for a jury in a civil case like this because you can get sympathy, and you can other people can relate to an average person very easily.
Well, summary judgment is like it's for the quote quick cases. It's for the ones where it's like, you know, maybe a couple $1,000s, not the $75,000, the
or
federal
more.
cases. Yeah, or more.
Jesus, did you know that Comedy Central pulled down their video, The Jim Jeffries Show, again?
Oh, did they again? Wow.
Yeah.
Is it not back up again? Here, let me check.
Well, it was this is through Mark Waid's GoFundMe page, the link that he provided. You can learn more about Comicsgate's tactics here, and my favorite here. And I'm like, what's your favorite, Mark Waid? And it's
still up.
This is the old link to the previous one where it had
it's still ratioed.
Oh yeah, here it's 4.8 up and 13,000 down. What's it over there?
14.8 and 13 down. Yeah. With 217,000 views.
Jeez.
Top comment, Yellow Flash. Nice hack job on the edits.
Nice.
It's not wrong.
Well, the reason that I pulled up the GoFundMe here is that I wanted to. This is the way that Waid believe, you know, at least is trying to present to the public what's going on in terms of why he's being sued. I have never backed down from bullies, especially those who denigrate my friends, colleagues, values of our community that we stand for. And while I am not a rich man, you have my solemn promise that I will fight this fight no matter the personal cost. We won't know what...
no matter the personal cost for all the people that are giving me money in a GoFundMe.
We won't know until this goes before a judge whether or not my ask will be enough to pay for my expenses. So feel free to keep donating and sharing, of course.
I'm going to need more money.
Keep giving me money. I don't know how much it's going to be. And I promise I've not said a single word about whether or not you'll get that money or what that money will be going to if and after the lawsuit ends, and I need money.
Well, he says it right here. Any excess, if there ends up being any, will be donated to an appropriate anti-harassment campaign, like whatever that means. It says, if you believe as I do that women and people of color deserve to be able to do their jobs or any job without being bullied, donate. Stand with me. If you believe that someone's gender or sexual preference should have no bearing on their career, please donate. Send that message.
Okay, I gotta say something here. When you said that the money will go to an anti-harassment campaign, I just pictured Mark Waid dressed like a barbarian, recruiting 3 other people from the comics community to all dress up like elves and shit, and they're gonna literally go on a campaign and go around fighting harassers in real life, driving like a VW minibus or something.
The only thing that came to mind when that was brought up to me is Mark Waid going to start Bully Hunters 2.0?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, but in real life.
He even says that on the Nerdist video, where it's like, these Comicsgate people, you know, if you have good intentions, you don't go around calling people cucks and etc. This is the language that bullies use. No. And it's like, Mark Waid, you called Gamergate the new KKK. Like, yeah. you know, literal bully in terms of bringing down all your pro friends in the comic book industry down upon anybody who disagreed with you, and actually called up to cancel out some guy's comic that was about a team of superheroes saving King Kong. And you are calling people bullies.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mustafa there just says the asshole doing all the bullying.
Right?
That's always been Mark Waid, though. He has always been that way.
He says he never backs down from a bully. How does he get away from a mirror?
Yeah. He has to fight it. It's like it's like a beta fish.
The guys, like, if you go watch the Nerdist video, and god damn it, man, they need the views worse than we here at Comic Book Curation need the fucking views. They have 2.3 million subs. What, Jack, you saw it live. I only saw it after it streamed. What was it, 300 people?
The highest I saw was 315.
315, and they have 2.3 million subscribers.
Is that total views on the video or just...
No, now that
was live.
Because everybody's talking about it now. They're up to like what? I don't know. Look it up. What are they up to?
A couple thousand probably.
I think they're up to like 4. I had thought when I looked it up.
Probably. It was sad though, because it was just such a softball cuddle fest. I really expected them to start fooling around. Like they should have just had that in a bedroom with rose petals all over the place.
Yeah, well, and Vortex is, you know, I was there for the live stream. Then you should have seen, then you would have had to have seen the comments that were going on. They just got bombed on.
Well, yeah, he said it was 80% Comicsgate peeps.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it totally was.
It's because this fantasy that Waid lives by, that he's like, and we're in the majority. He actually describes himself as the majority. Why? Because a bunch of sympathetic comic pros showed up to donate to your little fund.
Oh, because he lives in a bubble. His entire interactions are with people that agree with him. He's blocked or alienated everybody that would have any disagreement. The mods couldn't keep up with banning people fast enough. I saw Doug Ernst get bopped for saying something completely innocuous.
Yeah, the Umbrella guy was talking about that he got nailed, got hammered repeatedly, and they've disabled the comments on the video now because there were too many people calling out. It's like, Waid, you don't even mention why you're being sued, and that's for interfering with someone's contract. He said the entire suit hinges upon slander. And how could I possibly slander somebody like this guy's name I won't mention because he's a scumbag? He doesn't say he's a scumbag, but he's like, how could you possibly slander someone like that?
Well, I honestly think he doesn't understand that he did anything wrong, because he's done this sort of thing for years where he's just steamrolled people he doesn't like, and he's been getting away with it. Now somebody stands up and says, "Hey, no, this is not going to happen," and he's honestly doesn't understand. I don't think he's taking this seriously. His lawyer might be, but from what I've seen on Twitter, probably not. But I don't think Waid fully understands how much money he could lose from this.
John Malin got timed out. I'm starting to think that they had more mods behind the scene watching the chat than they had actual people in the chat.
Like no, they
like
couldn't keep up.
Legitimate audience members, you mean?
Yeah.
I think that there was no legitimate audience members. The only people that were showing up were comic skaters.
Yeah, I think there were probably a handful, like 3-4 people in there that were not Comicsgate people, because there were a few comments that got through. But
I've got this theory that I've been kind of working on. I remember when one of the first retail jobs I had, the floor manager came up to me and said, "So my daughter's selling Girl Guide cookies. You want to buy some?" And I was like,
Girl Guides.
What's that? Girl Scouts, you know.
There you go. I was like, what the fuck are Girl Guides?
Girl Scouts. But it wasn't even that. It was like, what's the first junior level?
I don't know.
Brownies?
Brownies, is it?
There you go. I think.
Okay, yeah.
That's the real little ones.
Like we're buying she's selling these, the cookies that they sell.
Yeah, like Thin Mints and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were actually Thin Mints.
Well,
now
shortbreads are the best.
Now I don't have a problem with them, but everybody instantly knew that they had to buy them.
Yeah,
like
that's just why you run away. You run away as fast as you can.
And I was kind of like, okay, like how much could they possibly be? And then, and of course, they're quite expensive.
Yeah,
yes, they are.
Yes. And
what are they up to? Like $6 a box or some shit now?
I don't remember how much I paid. I really don't. But the point is that like there's in the industry, it works like that. In the comic book industry is my best guess. It's like Waid is an extremely powerful person and everybody has to show solidarity in that way. And when he has a GoFundMe, of course you donate to it. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, it's soft power. He doesn't have to do anything directly. He just has to insinuate something and he could crush your career.
Yeah. It's on that level where it's like he mentions that like Neil Gaiman has donated to it and lots of people have donated to it. And when you go through the list of people that have donated, it's lots of anonymous people, but then it's also like a who's who of anti-Comicsgate. And then it's also a hell of a lot of professionals in the industry. And I'm like, the whole industry's against us. No, that's not the way that it works. They're supporting a fellow pro. And in the same way that if your boss asks you to buy some of his daughter's cookies for her Girl Scout troop or her Brownies troop, you say yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And all I got to say about that is having Neil Gaiman doing anything for you is not enough to get me to support you at all. Fuck Neil Gaiman. Yeah. I don't care if he wrote some really good shit, and I don't care if he's lauded as a really good writer. He's the reason why Angela is now part of Marvel. Fuck him.
Pretty much.
She should have always remained part of Image and Spawn. Tangentially, he's related to unsolicited opinions on Israel.
Oh, yeah. I'll be right back, guys.
He's tangentially related to that. Fuck Neil Gaiman.
I just think that they're doing it just because that's what's to be done. Like, I really don't think that they've looked too far into it. You had, I mean, people say that online, is that they don't want an argument. They don't want to take a position. You have pros that have never said anything about Comicsgate one way or another that are like you're against this guy, aren't you? You're for Comicsgate, aren't you? You find Richard C. Meyer deplorable. And they're like, Richard who? Like they don't want to hear about it. I think they're just being pulled into the direction of like, don't you support a fellow colleague, a fellow professional? And that's, yeah, why not? Okay, well then go throw $10 on his GoFundMe. For what? He's being sued by some scumbag racist? Oh, okay, I will then. I don't think it's much more complicated than that. Hello?
It's not. It's not more complicated than that. It really is just a support your fellow comic book professional. So it's really all it is. It's no more complex than that. And if people are sitting there saying, well, you know, if you donate, that means you agree with Mark Waid, they're being disingenuous as fuck. They don't, you know, there's no consideration given to the the nuance involved. It's all entirely about standing with an industry professional. Because if you do, the comic book industry has always and ever been an insider club, right? You need to break into it some way, and usually it's by word of mouth or by some sort of introduction by another professional. And then while you're in it, you have sway and power to influence the industry professionals to either make or break your career. And, you know, that much can be inferred just by listening to the stories people tell of behind the scenes when making comic books. It seemed like that with Ethan Van Sciver. And I know Ethan likes to make it about him being an out Republican, but I just think it's the fact that there were some people that were politicizing things. They didn't like the way that he was politicizing things. And then therefore he was persona non grata. I don't think it's necessarily the fact that he was Republican. There's plenty of Republicans in comics. Usually they're not very vocal about their leanings politically. I think that after Trump got elected, Ethan might have been a little emboldened and said things, which didn't get him in the good graces with some of the people that really can, you know, swing some sway in the industry. That's not to say that Ethan doesn't have a right to say them. He absolutely does. But to act like this industry itself is not an insider club is to be naive.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, we should wait till we have like another comics pro on to talk about what like how the gatekeeping works and how clubs work, and
yeah,
you know how certain like people are considered, like, you know, your fellow pros and what's his name, the creative director at Marvel, well, the chief creative officer, yeah, Joe Quesada, going around asking all of these professionals that he knows inside of Marvel and out and at smaller indie publishers and stuff like that,
and at DC,
like their main competitor, going around and asking all of them on Twitter, you do not support diversity in comics, Richard Meyer, right? And it's like, why are you doing this? And Ethan Van Sciver responds, I think quite properly, enough of this isolation game that you're attempting to play.
I just feel like Zach, your boy Zach, is Snowball from Animal Farm.
That's actually pretty good. That's actually, yeah, that's not a bad analogy. That's good. And if you haven't read Animal Farm, you don't know who Snowball is, shame on you. It's a great book.
It's been a long time since I've read Animal Farm. But
Snowball's Trotsky.
Yeah, he becomes the blamable guy that they, you know, all of our problems are because of this guy that we're going to excise from our community, and then all of the problems will be gone. You know,
put an ice pick in his head.
Well, Trotsky, not Snowball.
Yeah, Trotsky got stabbed in.
Yeah, but we were talking about Snowball. They didn't ice pick him in the fucking children's book.
No, that's what I said. That I was talking about Trotsky getting ice picked, not Snowball.
You're all over the place.
All I remember is that when Lenny gets shot in the back of the head, I cheered.
Because they were going to live off the fat of the land?
No, I hated Of Mice and Men. I thought it was a terrible book. But
it's a book about a mentally retarded guy. Come on. It is handler.
All right. This has by far been our most disorganized and over talking and crappy stream, frankly. But damn it.
We're good.
You come here for the fun, not the professionalism. Damn it.
Exactly.
And I've said it before and I'll say it again. God damn you, umbrella guy. I hate your organization.
Show off.
Here's the major thing with Tug. Tug is great, but Tug usually streams solo, doesn't he? Like every now and then he gets Edwin Boyette, but he streams solo.
But that's true, but that makes it that much more embarrassing because there's three of us and we can't match that one guy's level of organization. It's terrible.
It makes sense because there's three people. It's going to be inherently more chaotic. Three people does not a synergy make, Polly.
Well, I happen to think we're pretty synergistic.
Well, yeah, in terms of sociability, but
and sexiness.
There you go.
Jean-Pierre asked, "What do the pigs represent in Animal Farm?" They represent the leaders, the Bolsheviks, the leaders of the revolution. No, they would, right?
Yeah, they're the leaders of the Communist Party.
Yeah. So,
like I said, it's been a long time since I've read that book.
You should. It's available in many a audiobook format. Definitely worth checking out if you don't want to take the time to actually read the book. Definitely worth listening to it.
Well, I know for Orwell, the next one I've got to reread is going to be 1984 again.
Talk about a book that there's lots of great audiobook formats. I've listened to 2 and both of them were outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there should be a porno version in 1984.
You said it. That means there already is.
Well, hold on.
Do not Google.
DM me a link if you find one.
Because, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but there's like more than one sex scene in that book.
Yeah, but I'd like to see how they handle the 2 minutes of hate.
Well,
we must punish the wrong.
It's like 2 minute furious orgy. Is that what you think?
Yeah, yeah. But it's angry.
Thriller.
It's not the same.
That's Thriller. No. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're the animated version of Animal Farm. I saw that like back in like grade 3 or something. You know?
No, you gotta watch the live action, man. That's where it's at.
What they got, like pigs talking?
Yeah, they like. So, I think some of them were animatronic, but most of them were like live action animals. I think it had Patrick Stewart in it.
Was it good?
Yeah. It may have been a little out of element at the time, but I enjoyed it.
Like I've watched Nick at Night. I've seen Mr. Ed where they had the animals talking, like they had that horse talking, just chewing on something.
Well, when they did, I think some of them were like animatronic, like the better versions of Chuck E. Cheese.
I was gonna say, is it live action or was it animated?
It was live action because they had a human in there and they were in a barn. Hold on, I'll find the link for it.
God, we've gone way off topic. So if there's something else you guys wanted to touch on, I'm feeling pretty sick and I'd like to kind of wrap this up. Before we move on to our pitches, is there's anything else you want to touch on?
Not really.
I'll go on my rant later about next time.
We'll talk about doxing next time, I guess, because that is in the title. If you want
yeah. Well, we will adjust that because we wanted to
have a serious discussion about that because
we did
some shit that went down.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's here. I'll tantalize you guys. Until Nancy shows up on EVS's stream, we're kind of talking about it prematurely. We won't have the full story, right?
Sure. Yep.
And for those of you like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? Doxing is going on left, right, and center, and anti-Comicsgaters, especially one particular individual is God, man, people are dropping DMs everywhere. People's docs are floating around. I honestly did not think that Comicsgate was going to get any hotter, but it is, and
it's getting such a mess.
It keeps getting ramped up like every week. This is nuts. I honestly thought it would have been starting to fade by now. Like,
no, there's too much internal stuff going on too, with like EVS gatekeeping, Nurkish. And then that leading to the collapse of the cash grab comic.
Yeah.
I would like to rant about that because I was really pissed about that.
Yeah. Hopefully we won't spend too much time on the Cecil, Donald J. Thump, Nurkish thing.
No, that's not the part I'm upset about.
Okay.
It's EVS telling somebody else what to do with their Discord.
Right. I am just 100% very opposed to the idea of descriptions of factions inside Comicsgate. I get the idea that not everyone's going to want to work together. I get the idea that personalities will clash and that people will rip each other off and pull dick moves on each other. This is just life. Like, that's fine. And I'm not trying to say we're all unified in Comicsgate. My point is, Comicsgate is very vague purposefully. It only has one unifying thing about it, as any hashtag movement does. There's problems in the industry that we don't like, and industry pros are viewing themselves as insiders and everybody else is an outsider. I mean, this is write good stories and don't call us Nazis is the old joke, right? Or the old line. And that still holds true, even if Lim, Donald J. Thump, wants to write a political comic and EVS thinks that Comicsgate comics shouldn't be. Well, you guys go ahead and disagree and you guys fight about it. But people are talking about, well, I'm with this faction, I'm with that faction. You could say that.
No factions.
No, there isn't. And that's what I'm saying. We shouldn't talk about it that way. It's like I could say that Cecil got a dick move pulled on him because I think he did, but that doesn't equate to factions in my mind.
Well, I don't know. It depends what the human sunbeam says.
And let me find my smart joke. I was never posting. EVS was calling himself Caesar, and it really pisses me off.
I find it more disturbing. There's an entire group called the War Campaign out there that declared their loyalty to him. I'm going to do a video about it because I'm really pissed about this.
What?
All right. Yeah. Why don't we reconvene tomorrow night and we'll screw over, who is it? Satsu or Scribe tomorrow?
It's Monkey tonight, Satsu's tomorrow.
So we will take a whopping 3% of their audience from them tomorrow night.
You're being a little too generous there, Polly.
Well, okay. 1.5. 1.5.
Lucky if it's half. Half of a point.
Yeah, okay.
Going for Shady. Come on, Shady, join us.
Yeah. I want to apologize again to the audience. Like I said, I was feeling really sick when I started this stream. So we're not going to go very long tonight. And we are going to do our pitches really quick. Did you guys want to do pitches tonight? Or no, we have to do pitches. That's part of our shtick.
That's our thing.
Yes.
And this was the image I wanted to share with EVS when he called himself Caesar.
Nice.
Smart joke. Smart joke.
That's funny.
Yeah, for those who can't wait for the titillation of finding out who Nancy is tomorrow. Yeah, it's somebody who donated to. Okay, we talked about Richard C. Meyer suing Mark Waid. Mark Waid starting a fund my legal fees campaign on GoFundMe. Well, Ethan Van Sciver started a similar thing on Richard C. Meyer's part to fund his legal fees, and it rapidly overtook Mark Waid's very, very quickly. And one of the donators was somebody who put up $10,000, who was subsequently doxxed and found out to be an individual by the name of Nancy when people were anti-Comicsgaters were postulating, no, this isn't, Nancy doesn't even exist. It's Zach is depositing his own money to his own GoFundMe to make it look like he's got big supporters. It's this ugly, guys. It's this blisteringly ugly what's going on right now. So we'll touch. How about we do the whole doxing thing tomorrow, and we'll just handle. God, I feel awful. We'll just handle the pitches tonight and then wrap her up. How's that?
That works.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Jack, you spoke first, so you're up.
All right. Let's see. You can all look at my desktop while I do this then. All right. So
doxed.
Yeah, whatever. You saw all the comic books I'm reading. Oh my god.
Is this new?
This is new.
Awesome.
So you've seen the movie, right?
Sure.
Have you seen it? Quiz?
Ack.
Yes. All right. So I really liked the movie. I thought it was hilarious.
It's a funny movie.
So I bought this just on that. And I had the trading cards as a kid. So I was like, yeah, I'll pick it up. It's probably garbage. No. Buy this book. It was awesome. So it's different than the movie. So we start off with this guy, Spencer, and he's visiting his dad, the Major. And their last name is like Card Butt or something like that. There's a butt joke in there. So Spencer quit his job because it was a little too hard and they expected him to do stuff. And his dad's upset. His dad's in a nursing home and he's like, that explains why you're here on not a Sunday. And he's like, haha, I'm a loser, right? Whereas his dad is this accomplished military guy. Well, then a doctor just wanders in and is like, hey, would you like some lethal drug overdose? And they're like, what? And then he turns on the TV and Mars is attacking. Bum, bum, bum. And you'll notice this image here is from the trading cards. And that's our first glimpse that something's going on. But there's a lot of little jokes in here that are just great references. We get to see the Martians. It's very cartoonish and over the top, but so is the entire premise of Mars Attacks to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's fun watching what happens to the people at the old folks' home and what's going on. This is the president and his kid are at an underground bunker. It's the 7th one they've been to because the others got destroyed. And he's like, does this one have the presidential harem? Yeah, I giggled at that. But yeah, the art style is very like 70s retro because this is how like a lot of kids' books were drawn in the 70s that I remember because I'm old. But it really works to add to the cartoony nature of the Mars Attacks stuff. So I had a blast reading this. If the next issue is this good, I'm adding it to my pull list. I don't know how long it's going to go for, if it's just a mini series or what, but I hope it's got a good long run. I had a great time reading it. It was a lot of fun. I'll post my the link to my video in the chat here in a minute, but I really like this one. I thought it was a good time. And I've never heard of this author, Kyle Starks, but he did a great job handling the material.
I'm not sure. I thought there was a rumor going around there was going to be a new Mars Attacks movie. Maybe this is something that's going out ahead of it.
Oh, it might be. That would be cool. I would definitely watch it because I thought the last one was fun.
Oh yeah, the last one was funny.
Yeah, this kind of had that same feel. I'm really hoping Slim Whitman's music shows up somewhere in this, but it was a great time. I highly recommend this one.
All right.
I want to read that. And to me, series comics, that sounds like it's fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys do too. I hope all of you check it out because that's definitely a book that I hope does well so that we can see more of that.
Yeah.
All right, Quiz. What you got for us?
All right. This is going to be kind of an odd suggestion from me, mainly because I've made it known several times before how much I dislike the manga influence in comics. But by the same token, I don't think it's always bad. I don't. This one is written and drawn, penciled and inked by Adam Warren. My pitch is Empowered. Now, the major problem that a lot of people have with this comic is that for superhero readers, it's a bit too Japanese anime. And for anime readers, it's a bit too superhero-y. So he's never been able to find a very big audience for this book. But it's great in my opinion. He's up to 10 volumes now. It's released through Dark Horse. And essentially the plot follows the main character here, Eliza Megan Powers, who is randomly one day FedExed a super suit. And the super suit is made of this alien hyper membrane that when it's intact gives her super strength. She can fire blasts out of her hands like Tony Stark and all that kind of stuff. But when her easily damaged suit gets torn, her powers rapidly decrease until she's just a normal person. And the major crux behind it is that Adam Warren came out and said that originally when he kind of created Empowered, he was commissioned by an extremely wealthy man to draw damsel in distress lewds. And
you should have led with that.
There's a lot of her being hogtied in the first, I want to say maybe 6 volumes. And it's over 200 or 200 pages per volume. It's kind of huge per issue that he puts out. Yeah, it's funny, it's sexy, it's superhero-y, it's doesn't take itself too seriously, but then there's bits where this character here, her name is Ninjette, and she has this drinking problem. You can tell by the beer in her hand, and she has an abusive father that she's trying to get away from. So there's like little bits of serious thrown into the mix. It's all, in my opinion, very well executed. I highly recommend this book. I have all 10 of the volumes in physical copies, and can't get enough of it. I always look forward to a new volume. He releases one every year, I believe.
Cool.
Nice. Hold on. Okay, there. I take you off present. I wasn't expecting you to go into something that had lewds. Okay, all right.
Nice work.
Yep, successfully done. I do want to see it, but that's just because I like sexy comic book girls. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The idea she's FedExed her super suit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pitching something that is a sadly under talked about comic. I've except for another nerd friend of mine, I've never even heard anyone ever reference it. Astro City. Jack, do you know Astro City?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. I'm not the only one. Astro City is a really it's a unique series and a unique take on the whole superhero genre. Astro City is the titular name of the city in which it happens, and there's characters that I have always thought of as being rather thinly veiled versions of well-known superheroes. Like Samaritan is the character you see here. He's Superman, basically. He has all the powers of Superman, but a lot of the problems that Superman would have in the real world, well, if they were written by different writers, are taken on by Samaritan here. Like you have Jack in the Box, who's like a clown-themed guy. So it's, he's sort of like a thinly veiled sort of Joker, but in the case of Jack in the Box, he's a vigilante. The whole series is really worth reading, and it ran a long time. And Alex Ross, who's just a spectacular artist, did the character designs for all of this. It's really, really well written. Let's take a quick look at some of the art here before we wrap up. Come on, you. There we go. This you get like sort of like an origin story and an understanding of who Samaritan is. And some of the problems he deals with. I love this. The pulse pounding pattern of the transmission indicates the Philippines. Some sort of weather disaster, probably another typhoon. Manila's a nice flight. Under other circumstances, but not today. There's no time. There's never enough time. He's always having to rush off somewhere, and he has, much like Clark Kent, like a day job that he's always got to go to, but he's always being pulled away because he's got to fly to the other side of the globe to fight crime and solve some kind of problem. It's, I'm going to rush in, I'm going to stop the big monsoon, and then back to my regular job. It's a great series, and it doesn't exactly deconstruct superheroes. It just looks at them from a different way. Jack, would you say that's fair?
Yeah, this was back when Kurt Busiek wasn't crazy.
Okay. So that's my pitch. I would like it. It is a great classic superhero comic book, but just done in enough of a different way with characters that you're not familiar with, but the tropes are familiar. They're just played with in a very interesting way. So it's absolutely worth reading, and it's available in collected editions. Definitely recommend it. Just good, solid comic reading. And that is my pitch. Astro City. So there we are.
Probably
another one in the can, gentlemen.
We're awesome.
Well, no, we're not. But
whatever. You're doing this wrong.
I need my positive validation, Polly. So I may have to just go over to Mark Waid apparently to get my fucking validation. God.
You shouldn't need external emotional validation.
You shouldn't, but everybody likes it.
Well, Unless, of course, you think of it as being underhanded and ulteriorly motivated.
Well, yeah, if you want to look at it honestly, but come on.
Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts are as they always are. I recommended picking up the collected edition of Astro City. You should look at other collected editions. Talk to people that run comic book shops. Much like Jack, they know a hell of a lot and probably could direct you towards stuff that you would be interested in. Just tell them what you like. Not necessarily superhero stuff. I tend to be into superhero stuff, but there's detective comics, horror comics, everything else. And the people there can direct you towards used editions if you don't want to buy the new stuff because you don't want to support the crap that Mark Waid's putting out there and his ilk. Then don't. Or support Indiegogo stuff. Great stuff to be had online as well.
Oh yeah.
Quiz.
Always check out your resale shops. I first learned about my pitch tonight, Empowered, because of Comic Book Girl 19 on YouTube. But I found the volumes at Half Price Books. So yes, I would highly recommend looking around, shopping brick and mortar. Price it out, price check it. Go to brick and mortars. You usually find it for cheaper, but in lieu of that, online is also a really good place to get those books. It's also a good way to discover new stuff that you may not have seen before.
I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to say subscribe to our channels because we're all pretty awesome. And
great.
I think it would be a good idea to look for a good eBay store that you can get used books at because there are some really good sellers out there. One of my favorites is My Comic Shop. It's Lone Star Comics in somewhere in Texas. I don't remember now. But they're really, really good, very reliable. I think it's a good idea to get your back issues from a reliable seller that you can trust. And that's one that I trust. So
fair enough.
Yeah. I would say I get mine from a local Chicago branch. They've got 3 different stores, so they've got kind of a big old spread around the region to get back issues from. So I get a little bit of a better choice called Graham Cracker Comics, but they have an online store as well. Yeah, that's a good point.
And one thing I always forget to mention, lots of YouTubers say it, but I think it's like it gets said so much that it kind of just becomes like background noise. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave comments below. But actually, leave comments below. No, subscribe.
Oh,
if you
that's his minion.
By all means, leave comments below if you're listening in the future, which most of our views are not live, they're actually in the future. Leave your comments below, what you like, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see, etc., etc. And if you did like it, by all means, share. We would be greatly appreciative. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Chat, thank you for being here. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone.